Actually, I've liked you for a long time. In the early morning, I sent this message to a blank chat box. When the green chat box appeared, I suddenly sprang up from the chair. I stared fixedly at my phone for 3 minutes. Only after seeing there was no response from the other side did I slowly sit back. Then, with the attitude of it doesn't matter anymore, I continued to type, "But I don't want you to know that I like you. However, I'm not afraid now. Anyway, you don't know who I am." After this message, I also added a cheeky V sign emoji. Moreover, actually I also kind of hate you. When I wrote this sentence, I was already a bit sleepy and typing in a daze. Who asked you to be liked by so many people? You're like a flirtatious butterfly. After staying up late for 3 consecutive nights, I really couldn't hold on anymore. I took a look at the lifeless petri dish. I sent one last message to the chat box. I kinda want to drink apple pineapple juice tomorrow. Then I threw my phone aside and lay on the table, falling asleep. I fell in love with someone on the day I started my postgraduate studies. Later, after many twists and turns, I added him on WeChat. However, even after adding him, I haven't sent him any messages in the past 2 years. Not only have we never chatted on WeChat, in daily life, we can almost be considered strangers. This is due to the fact that he is from the neighboring group and 1 grade higher than me. We hardly have any intersection. Another reason is that I clearly know he likes girls. So I also understand there's no need to bother him. But perhaps it's really hard to let go when first love and secret love coincide. So even so, I still can't help secretly loving him in my heart. This state lasted for 2 years. Until today, looking at I don't know how many culture dishes that have broken in a row, I just feel the sky is about to collapse. I can't help but want to vent my madness to someone. The alarm clock at 7 of the clock dragged me out of the nightmare on time the next day. I picked up my phone and turned it on. I was instantly wide awake from my drowsiness. Then it took me another 3 minutes to finally accept what extraordinary thing I did last night. But fortunately, after calming down, I sat back on the chair, feeling scared and guilty. I thought to myself that luckily he didn't ask anything. Otherwise, the sky might really fall today. Although I'm glad to have escaped this disaster, but there's still a faint sense of loss in my heart. The other side is so calm. Presumably, they've received this kind of news countless times. After all, that person has always been so popular. Oh well, I sighed. It's nothing but a baseless matter. Why think too much about it? Shaking my head, I tried to cheer myself up. I packed up my things and left the laboratory. After taking a shower in the dormitory, I went to the canteen to have something to eat. Then I rushed back to the teaching building, because there was a group meeting at 8. When I pushed the door open, most of my group members had already arrived, probably because they all stayed up late. Everyone had big dark circles under their eyes. "Oliver, did you stay up late last night too?" Just as I sat down after entering, James beside me asked me with a pained face. "Yes." I nodded. James yawned widely. "What a pity. I really don't know why I wanted to pursue a postgraduate degree at that time. Isn't it good to go home and inherit the family fortune?" As soon as he finished speaking, all kinds of stationery, books, and mice were thrown at him from all directions. "Get out!" Everyone shouted at James resentfully in unison, and some people on the other side said they were going to strangle his neck. After such horseplay for a while, the classroom door opened again, just when we all thought it was the tutor. But instead we saw Matthew, the only real genius in our department from the neighboring group, walk inches. Although he is only a third-year graduate student, he has already made a name for himself in this major, because he is usually very aloof and looks hard to approach. So he hardly has any interaction with us. "Senior?" The female student Isabella across from him asked in surprise. "Why did you come? Your teacher was suddenly called out for a meeting." Matthew walked in while answering. "He asked me to tell you about the meeting held in City S yesterday." He came to the table and put his computer aside. Then he put several big bags with the milk tea shop logo on the other hand on the table. These are bought by your teacher for you. He said you've worked hard during this period. As he said that, he began to distribute the drinks one by one. Everyone was so surprised that their jaws almost dropped. After all, during normal group meetings, we consider it a stroke of luck if we didn't leave in tears. How could we ever get to drink milk tea? However, despite the surprise, everyone happily and justifiably took the milk tea. Coincidentally, the drink I got was a glass of apple pineapple juice. The group meeting has been going on for almost an hour. When it ended, Matthew looked at us and said, "You can come to me if you have any questions." After a pause, he added another sentence. "If you don't understand something in the experiment, you can also come to me." His tone could be described as gentle. After he left, we gathered together in a crowd. So, if I can't handle an experiment, I can go to the senior for help? Can I also ask the senior to help me train my little rascals? Why do I feel like I found a powerful backer? Everyone was discussing animatedly. No one expected that the great God who always seems so high and mighty in appearance was actually so approachable in reality. Come on. James lay limply on the table and poured cold water on everyone. He's just being polite. You really take it seriously. For the next few days, I continued to lock myself in the laboratory. Every day, looking at my naughty kids made me feel like an old person sending off the young. Just like this, a week passed, and the tutor came back from a business trip. As soon as he arrived at school, he called a group meeting. At the meeting, everyone reported their recent progress one after another. After listening, the little old man sitting in the main seat frowned tightly. He had an expression as if he had just been fed a ton of feces. Then he specifically named and talked about several people. One of them was me. "It's okay." James patted me after the tutor left. "Just do it again if you can't do it well. Look at me. I'm always criticized every time. I've already gotten used to it. Relax. It's not a big deal. Go back and have a good sleep first. Let's talk after you wake up. You've been staying up for almost half a month. You look like a ghost. Even bacteria would be scared to death when they see you." I couldn't help but smile, but I still kept it in mind. So after everyone dispersed, I went to the laboratory again. I stayed there for another whole day. After dinner in the evening, I also rushed back to watch the petri dishes. I thought it would work this time, but when it was almost 12 of the clock, the data still reported an error. At that moment, I almost collapsed. I didn't even want to stay in the laboratory. I fled to the stairwell and sat down. I felt my mind was in a complete mess. I couldn't help but feel hopeless in every aspect of myself. The tutor's words during the day, "Go home early if you can't do it," kept lingering in my ears. Suddenly, I really wanted to find someone to talk to. I couldn't resist opening WeChat and pulling out the chat box that had been buried at the bottom. I clicked on it, and there was only my last message saying I wanted to drink apple and pineapple juice. I swiped my finger on it, and still couldn't resist typing a line of words. I'm not completely useless, right? After sending the message, as expected, there was no response from the other side. The experimental building in the early morning was eerily quiet. After sitting with my face buried in my knees for a while, I finally stood up and decided to go back. But as soon as I stepped out of the stairwell, I almost bumped into Matthew. "Senior," I was startled, and my whole body jolted. "Why are you here?" This was almost the first time I talked to him face to face. For some reason, Matthew first sized me up thoughtfully. Then he replied, "I was doing experiments and it got a bit late." "Is that so?" But when I went out just now, I took a look. There were no lights in the whole building except in my place. At that time, I even thought I was the only one left. "Oh, okay," I replied stupidly. Then we walked past each other. After packing up my things and arriving at the elevator entrance, I saw Matthew was also waiting for the elevator. I'm not really good at getting along with people I'm not familiar with. So I went up, stiffly called out "Senior," and then had nothing else to say. Fortunately, the elevator came quickly. We went downstairs together and then walked outside to the door. Where are you heading back to, Senior? I stopped. The reason I asked this is because I heard that he has a house off campus. He rarely lives in the dormitory. I'll go back to the dormitory, he said. I nodded and then walked silently with him towards the dormitory building with my head down. I thought it would be a silent journey all the way. But unexpectedly, this usually quiet and aloof person actually asked me on his own initiative when we were almost there, "Didn't you go well with the experiment recently? Maybe people are more vulnerable at night." Just a few words made me feel extremely heart-wrenching. Took me a great deal of effort to calm down. "It's okay." Then I replied, "Hearing this." Matthew stopped. By this time, we had reached the place where we would part ways. "It's all right." He turned to look at me. I used to have the same problem when doing experiments. But who would believe it? When I first joined the group, I heard from the seniors about it. They said that the genius next door, Matthew, hardly ever failed. Sometimes we couldn't make our experiments work. We would superstitiously whisper Matthew's name beside the petri dishes, in the hope of intimidating the disobedient bacteria inside. Yeah. However, I still forced a smile. "Thanks, Senior. Then I'll go upstairs first. Get some rest early and have a good sleep. Let's talk about it when you wake up tomorrow." I nodded and then walked towards the gate with my head down. But I hadn't taken 2 steps when I heard the person behind me call my name. "Oliver." "Huh?" I turned around. The person under the streetlight didn't respond immediately. Instead, he came beside me, looking at me with his dark eyes. Then he spoke. "Don't be anxious. You're great." As he said that, he paused and then reached out to ruffle my hair. "You're also very well behaved. You are extremely good." Well behaved. These 2 words kept swirling in my mind almost the whole night. Even in my dreams, I could hear Matthew saying these 2 words. I was still in a daze until I arrived at the laboratory the next day. The aloof genius senior from next door suddenly became approachable and even started complimenting people. It really made people can't help but find it strange. However, I thought about it again. Maybe the senior was like this all along. We just didn't have much contact with him on a regular basis. Moreover, he saw me past midnight at night. At that time, I had such a dejected look on my face. It's needless to say that the experiment wasn't going smoothly. It's normal to offer some comfort out of humanitarian spirit. Yes, it must be so. "What are you daydreaming about?" Just as I was thinking, James came over and asked me without my noticing. "No, nothing." I quickly perked up. James looked at me and then at the things in front of me. "How about," he said tentatively, "trying the metaphysics in our department?" "What kind of metaphysics?" "Silently recite Matthew's name. You know that. Many people have tried it. It's said to really work." I didn't believe it at all. Just give it a shot. It's better than doing nothing. Anyway, I think this batch is going to fail again. Although I had heard of this metaphysics before. But I always thought it was just a joke and never took it seriously. Now that James mentioned it, of course I still didn't believe it. But after staring at the petri dish in front of me for a while, I gradually began to waver. After all, for Chinese people, giving it a try when there's no other hope is always tempting. So, I stood up straight, clasped my hands in front of my chest, closed my eyes, and began to silently and devoutly recite, "Matthew, Matthew, Matthew, please bless me to make this experiment go smoothly. Please, please." After saying that, he continued to mumble Matthew's name, until a suppressed laugh in my ear interrupted me. Opening my eyes, I saw the usually serious man himself looking at me beside me, with a faint smile on his lips. "Senior," I called out, feeling embarrassed. Matthew nodded, then looked at what was in front of me. Then he said, "Let me take a look for you." Before the embarrassment of being caught red-handed could be relieved, I was instantly stunned by what Matthew said. "Senior, are you?" Tentatively, I could hardly believe it and even had difficulty saying the words to confirm. He is Matthew after all. What's the difference between this and winning a $5 million lottery? Probably because I looked so stupid. Matthew couldn't help laughing again. Anyway, I don't have anything else to do today. He casually pulled a chair and sat down beside me. Let's take a look together with you. However, this sentence doesn't support the reason why he wants to help me at all. Isn't it better to stay at home and sleep? Isn't it better to read 2 papers? Why bother to tangle with me? A stupid person. Senior, I said blankly as I sat down too. But we've never been close. The first time we talked was last night. As the saying goes, one should not accept rewards without merit. I'm not used to accepting others' kindness for free. Treat me to a meal if it works. Matthew interrupted me. He shifted his gaze from the experimental bench in front of him to me. If it works, treat me to a special meal. How about it? After saying that, without waiting for my answer, he shifted his gaze back. To settle then. I finally didn't decline anymore. After all, the temptation of having Matthew help me with the experiment was too great. Moreover, he didn't give me a chance to decline. After saying that, he started another experiment in an extremely professional way. I didn't have time to think too much. I quickly followed his train of thought and at the same time assisted him on the side. For the rest of the day, we stayed in the laboratory. No wonder he is well known in our field. In just over a dozen hours, I felt like I had learned things that I couldn't learn in half a year. Let's go back, Matthew said, looking at the clock on the wall at almost 10 of the clock at night. There should be no major problem. It will probably take about 2 more hours. I'll stay and watch over it. Senior, I said instead, I want to wait a bit longer together. It's very late. You've been staying up late recently. Go back and rest early. I shook my head without noticing why he knew I had been staying up late. Senior, just let me wait here. Okay? I laughed self-deprecatingly. It's been a long time since I've waited for such a moment. The experiments in the past few months have been going very badly. I really haven't experienced such a sense of success for a long time. Moreover, this experiment is originally mine. There's no reason for me to go to sleep while he stays and watches. After listening, Matthew looked at me and said, Okay then, but you lie here for a while first. As he said, he pulled over the stool beside him and made a simple bed. I'll wake you up in an hour. There's really nothing to do during this time. There's no need to hold on stubbornly. Senior. I still wanted to decline, but he forcefully pulled me over and pressed me onto the chair. Be obedient. Trust me. Maybe it was because he said the last 3 words so firmly. Or perhaps when he told me to rest. The softness on his face was so heartwarming that I couldn't refuse. In the end, I still listened to him and decided to lie down and rest for a while. But I still had things on my mind, so I couldn't sleep soundly. I always felt half awake. Therefore, when a piece of clothing was placed on me, I could clearly know it. Moreover, I seemed to feel that Matthew didn't leave immediately after covering me with the clothes. He seemed to have squatted down, and a few strands of slightly cool breath gently blew over. After a while like this, I heard him say as he got up, So obedient. I seemed to be having a dream when I was woken up. But before I could think carefully, I heard Matthew say, Basically, it's okay. Just a few short words made me so excited that I suddenly sat up from the chair. I strode to the test bench and stared closely at the petri dish. Senior, I felt my voice trembling. Is it successful? Yes, it's okay. He made a little space for me so that I could get closer. At that moment, I couldn't describe my feelings in words. For months, the repeated failures made me can't help but doubt whether my initial choice was correct. I even had the thought that I might never be able to do the experiment well again. But at this moment, although it was completed with Matthew's help, I truly gained confidence. Senior, I said after staring at the petri dish for a long time. Thank you. Matthew smiled gently and then reached out to ruffle my hair. Don't be afraid. I'll help you solve any problems in the future. Thanks to this experiment, I was able to submit a good report. which finally made the tutor look kinder to me. Also, because of this experiment, it was as if a curse had been broken, and things went more and more smoothly later. With some free time mentally and psychologically, I began to plan to invite Matthew to dinner. "Hey, senior, what would you like to eat?" I asked Matthew at the entrance of their group's lab. Matthew thought for a moment. "Can you cook?" "Huh? Can you cook home-cooked dishes?" Yes, I can." He paused, then said, "Then on Friday evening, come to my place and cook a meal for me." Actually, this request sounded a bit strange. After all, we've only gotten close recently. Moreover, home is such a private place. Not just anyone can go there. But since he made such a request, I couldn't very well refuse. I could only guess that he was tired of eating out and wanted a home-cooked meal. The appointed time was Friday evening. During the day, I went to see him again and asked him what he wanted to eat. "I'll buy everything. You just come then," he said. Then he handed me a note with a clear address written on it. At 6 in the evening, I knocked on the door of the villa on time. It was a very large and spacious house. Just entering the foyer, one could feel the exquisite and tasteful decoration. After changing my shoes, Matthew led me to the kitchen. There were already many prepared dishes inside. "Senior," I said, a bit sheepish. "I'm late." But he didn't mind. It was originally set for this time. "You're not late." But I still felt guilty, so I quickly washed my hands and started to get busy. Although it was supposed to be me cooking, it seemed like I was just assisting him the whole time. Soon, the last dish was also served on the table. When I came to the dining room, I saw that he had lit candles at some point, matched with the warm yellow lights. The atmosphere seemed particularly warm. "Senior, you've made it so delicate." I couldn't help but exclaim as I sat down. I didn't notice that he had basically hardly said a word from just now until now. Then, I started to pour the drinks on my own. Just as I put the glass on his place, a bouquet of flowers appeared in front of me. "Oliver." Matthew was squatting in front of me. "I like you too. Would you like to be with me?" Although I clearly knew that time couldn't stand still. But at that moment, I just felt as if even the earth had stopped rotating. This confession was too sudden. Or rather, there were no signs at all, which caught me completely off guard. "Although you said you didn't want me to know," Matthew continued, "but I really couldn't hold it back. Oliver, I've liked you since the day you entered school. When you said you liked me too, I was really happy." His hand touched the side of my neck. "Will you be with me?" The person in front leaned a little closer, and that cool breath from that night came over again. "Are you willing?" he asked in a low voice. There was a bit of hoarseness in his words, and a trembling that he tried hard to control. It made the scene seem so solemn and sacred. I stared blankly at the person in front of me for a while, and then murmured and asked, "Senior, why did you say also?" What? What do you mean by you like me too?" I asked again. If my Chinese isn't that bad, Matthew means that I like him. But I don't. Hearing my words, Matthew looked puzzled, but still patiently explained, "Because you said you liked me." When? I was extremely surprised. Hearing this, Matthew's expression froze for a moment. Then he took out his phone, swiped a few times and then held it in front of me. On the screen, there was a chat box. Inside were the messages I sent to the person I liked when I went crazy late at night before. How could it be you?" I asked in surprise and disbelief. "What?" Matthew frowned and retorted, his face suddenly turning very pale. "Isn't this WeChat account of Senior Lucas?" After I said that, it was so quiet in the room that you could hear a pin drop. I fled from Matthew's house in a sorry state. Before leaving, I kept apologizing. Tell him I always thought I added the WeChat of another senior. Of course, I also had to say that the person I actually liked had always been someone else. I apologized for mistakenly adding his WeChat account at the beginning, and thanked him again for helping me a few days ago. Then I rushed out like a deserter. Moreover, I didn't dare to stay even after I got out of the door. I rushed out of the community without even daring to catch my breath, hailed a random taxi, and got inches, and my mind went blank during the short 10-odd minutes in the taxi. After arriving at the school gate, as soon as I got off the taxi, I ran into a classmate from Matthew's group. "Hey, Oliver." He greeted me warmly. "Why are you back? Weren't you supposed to accompany Senior Jong to celebrate his birthday today?" "What?" I suddenly stopped. "What? Don't you know it's Senior Jong's birthday today? I thought you knew. After all, he canceled the party we planned for him just to spend the day with you." I returned to the dormitory almost like a walking corpse. The events that happened that night were so absurd that I couldn't react at all. After washing up and lying in bed, I stared blankly at the ceiling. I don't know for what reason, but I just felt extremely uncomfortable. I tried hard to sort out all the things, but just as I started to think, I heard my phone ringing. I picked it up and saw that it was a message from the WeChat account I had silently followed for 2 years. Then, can I still give it a try? Although it was just a few words, I seemed to be able to see Matthew's humility in this sentence. But he is clearly a genius. He may never have encountered anything in his life that he had to beg for. At that moment, my guilt reached its peak. But even so, I finally replied, "Sorry." From then on, I hardly ever ran into Matthew. Of course, he never sent me a message again. It wasn't until a month later, when summer had already arrived. That day I was busy in the laboratory all the time, even running to the toilet. It wasn't until I went downstairs around 10 of the clock that I found it had started to pour outside. There are puddles on the ground, forming small rivers. I was in a hurry this morning and didn't bring an umbrella. I went back to the lab to look for an umbrella, but I couldn't find one. When I went downstairs again and came to the door, I was struggling whether to just run back in the rain. I saw someone walking towards me with an umbrella in the torrential rain. It was raining so heavily and it was dark at night, so I couldn't see who it was. It wasn't until he stopped in front of me that I realized it was Matthew. "Senior," I called out. He nodded and gave a soft hum, then handed me the umbrella and a pair of slippers in his hand. "Be careful on the way." After saying that, he turned around and was about to leave, but I called him back. "Senior." Matthew turned around to look at me. "You? How did you know I was here?" He paused for a moment and then told a lie that we both knew well. "Just passing by." I looked at the person in front of me who had rushed out without even changing out of his pajamas. At that moment, my heart was filled with complex and indescribable feelings. "Sorry, Senior." Matthew forced a smile and then habitually ruffled my hair. "It's not your fault. Don't take it to heart anymore. But I still feel very uncomfortable." Seeing this, Matthew leaned over and gently put his arm around me. "It's okay," he comforted. "It's not a big deal. From now on, we'll be friends." These words made the soreness in the corners of my eyes finally unbearable. "Can we really be friends?" I asked pitifully with a lump in my throat. Matthew paused for a moment. "Yes." From that day on, our relationship began to gradually ease. If we met on ordinary days, we could also have a few words. He also said that if I had any questions in experiments, I could always go to him. At first, I was too embarrassed, but later when I really encountered 1 or 2 problems I couldn't solve, I had to summon up the courage. This also made our relationship more like that of ordinary friends. Soon, it was graduation season. I already knew before that he was going to pursue a doctorate in country A. Before leaving, he came to me with a lot of things. Since my roommate was there, we talked on the balcony at the end of the corridor. "These might be useful to you," he said. I took them and saw that they were some materials. "Thanks, Senior. I didn't turn it down." "You're welcome. I still need you to do me a favor." "What?" He took out a car key from his pocket. "Please help me drive the car. Otherwise, it's not good to leave it there." This, of course, it was not appropriate for me to accept it. "I'm really not making an excuse to give it to you," he said straightforwardly. "It's not right to leave it there without driving for 3 years. I don't want to go through the trouble of selling it either." You're about to start an internship. It'll be more convenient to have a car. Take it and use it. Let's just say we're meeting each other's needs." Finally, I agreed. By the time he settled down in Korea, I also started my third-year postgraduate life. We were far apart and there was a time difference, so we could only chat sporadically. He showed me the unpalatable Western food he ate there. And sometimes when I was bored, I also sent him videos of me whispering his name beside the petri dish. "Is it useful?" he asked. "Probably you're too far away. It can't intimidate them anymore," I replied dejectedly. After hearing that, Matthew sent a long string of laughter. I was extremely angry and replied, "Let's break off our friendship for 3 minutes." Then he started counting down there. When the last second ended, he sent, "Hi, my good friend." Our relationship gradually became exclusive and intimate invisibly. Maybe I'm really not cut out for postgraduate entrance exams, and my head isn't smart enough. Sometimes he would even stay up all night on a video call to help me review papers, and then send me long voice messages to tell me where there were problems in my experiments. Amid such busyness, I was also about to graduate. I got a job at a company in the district next to the school. On the night when I confirmed the offer, Matthew called me, "Come and live with me. Don't go looking for a place to rent. I'll send you the password." "No need," I said. "Renting a house is very quick." But this time, he was very stubborn. "My house is very close to your company. It's more comfortable to live alone. There are a lot of things to do near graduation. Why do you have to spend your time on these things?" I still wanted to keep refusing, but he came up with the excuse that the house had been empty for a long time and lacked a lively atmosphere. After saying that, he directly sent me the password for the front door and other things. After sending the message, he said to me seriously, "Oliver, if you really consider me a friend, then just move in without worry." After more than a year, when I came to the villa again, I just felt a bit emotional. After all, when I left at that time, I didn't dare to imagine that I would have any intersection with him again. After entering the door, I saw that it was spotless. Only then did I know that he had asked someone to clean it in advance. Even the refrigerator was filled with colorful food. It was the kind of sight that made people feel happy and warm at first glance. After studying abroad for so many years, I always seemed to be on the move, wandering from one dormitory to another, from one city to another, from a small town to a big city. I haven't felt truly settled for many years, but at the moment I saw the filled fridge, my heart suddenly calmed down. After settling down in the guest bedroom, I then rushed non-stop to the workplace. First, I was really not used to it. Every day was in a hurry and full of confusion. It wasn't until 3 months later that I felt a little better. It was another Friday, when I was taking a bath. Matthew called. "Finally having a rest tomorrow?" he asked. "Yeah." I leaned back in the bathtub and stretched. Then I told him about work. Actually, in these 3 months, I've nagged him a lot about those trivial things. Every time, he listened very carefully and attentively. I was praised today. I casually waved the water. The supervisor said I should join Group A in the future. Let me tell you, Group A is the best R&D group in our company. Matthew listened and couldn't help laughing. "Showing off here. So what? Come on. Tell me, am I amazing?" There was a soft chuckle on the other end of the phone first. Then, a clear and gentle voice rang in my ear. "You're really amazing. So obedient." I was born in a remote small town and have a pair of hard-working and taciturn parents. Although I had good grades since childhood, every time I took the awards home, what I got more were reminders. Don't be proud. You should know that there's always someone better and there are always higher mountains. Always remember that modesty helps one make progress, while pride makes one lag behind. Doing well this time doesn't mean you'll do well next time. Similar words accompanied me throughout my entire growth journey. Therefore, I learned to plan ahead early on and got used to being vigilant and cautious. As a result, I gradually developed an anxiety where I'm on edge at the slightest sign. I would habitually doubt myself when I couldn't conduct the experiment successfully. I would also worry because I couldn't adapt to the workplace. Just like in every previous exam, as long as my score dropped, even by just 1 point, I would look for reasons within myself. Over the years, it seems that I can never stop, and I always feel that I'm not good enough. But Matthew, he would tell me at any time, "You are very good, great, so well behaved, very impressive. You are very smart. You are the most valued student of your tutor. You'll make it. Very good." These words of encouragement, just like those for kids, always make me feel at ease every time. But can encouragement make the body have such a strange feeling? I don't know. I started to avoid him. It's not because of fear, but because of a guilty conscience. I replied to his WeChat messages less often and began to answer his video calls less frequently. I know I'm very despicable. It's as despicable as when I refused him but still didn't want to lose him as a friend. But there's just no way. Every time I hear his voice, there will be some strange reactions in my body. I can no longer be honest. About half a month later, Matthew noticed my abnormality. Oliver. That day, he called me 3 times before I answered the phone. "Are you avoiding me?" "I'm not." I lied guiltily. "You are," Matthew told me seriously and firmly. I fell silent. "Why?" he asked patiently. "Did I do something wrong?" "Of course not," I quickly replied. "Then, have you fallen in love with someone? Do you need to avoid suspicion?" He asked hesitantly and with difficulty. "No, I haven't fallen in love with anyone." "Then why?" "Oliver, tell me." I fell silent again, not knowing whether I should tell him. Over the past 1 or 2 years, Matthew has become the closest person in my life. I rely on him in many things. It seems that even my emotions are related to him. "Senior," I said after a long while. "Yes, go ahead. I'm listening." "That day, you said I was very well behaved and excellent." At this point, I just felt my heart suddenly beating very fast, as if it was about to burst out. This had never happened in the previous 20-odd years. "What's wrong with you?" Matthew asked. Unable to say it directly, I changed my way of speaking. "There's a place on me that has become very strange." After listening, Matthew didn't say a word for a long time. "Oliver." Finally, he called me softly. "Wait for me." Matthew knocked on the door on Sunday morning. When the door opened, he looked haggard, but his eyes were very bright. He walked in and stopped at the entrance, staring at me intently. "You've fallen for me, right?" His question about love made my heart beat fast again. My throat tightened, and it was hard to speak. "Senior," I said, looking at him sheepishly. I don't know." Matthew looked at me and then said, "Then give it a try." After saying that, he hugged me and placed me on the shoe cabinet beside, then kissed me. Probably at that moment, I confirmed that I really fell in love with Matthew. His tall figure enclosed me tightly in a seemingly airtight corner. My nape was gently pressed, and my waist was also protected in his arm. I couldn't help but grab Matthew's collar and move closer to him. I couldn't help but want him to lift me up. I responded clumsily. Matthew probably felt it, so he kissed me more passionately. It was not until a long time later that we gasped and let go. Our foreheads touched. Matthew held my face and couldn't resist kissing the corner of my mouth again. "You like me, don't you?" I didn't answer. Instead, I hooked my arms around his neck as a response. Seeing this, Matthew carried me upstairs. Along the way, his kisses flowed across my neck. After being placed on the bed, there was another lingering and passionate kiss. It was already noon when we had a chance to talk. I looked at the person I hadn't seen for a year carefully. I found that he had matured a lot, but still looked good. In his bottomless eyes, my reflection appeared, filling his entire pupil. "Senior, have you always liked me?" I asked with a bit of guilt. "Yes, I've always liked you," Matthew hugged me tightly. He cooked lunch. The last time I ran away without eating. This time, I started to regret it after just taking a bite. Senior, your cooking skills are really good. Matthew smiled. When I come back in the future, I'll cook for you every day. I replied yes, but I didn't dare to ask him how long it would be before he came back. I didn't know before because I had never been in a relationship. Now I unexpectedly find myself quite sentimental and petty. It'll be soon. Seeing this, Matthew came over and hugged me again. After I come back, I won't leave again. I said. It was autumn. In the afternoon, we stepped on the fallen leaves and went out to buy a lot of things. He filled the fridge again. I can't finish all these, I said. Eat them slowly. Don't be in a hurry. He ruffled my hair and then continued to put things away. In the evening, we had a tom yum goong hot pot. It was sour and very appetizing. But what really whetted one's appetite was having a meal with Matthew. This house is very big. In the past, every time I came back, it was empty and quite desolate inside. But it's different at this moment. To some extent, it's more like a home. After the meal, we sat on the sofa, watching a movie and chatting. Suddenly, we talked about the time when I first moved inches. It took me half a month to figure out the way inside. Matthew smiled and said, I'm not unaware that you're bad at finding your way. Well, how do you know? Why shouldn't I know? I was the one who picked you up and took you to the dormitory at that time. But wasn't that person Lucas? I probably have a poorly developed sense of direction. I've been bad at finding my way since childhood. On the day I started graduate school, I dragged my luggage around the school for a long time but couldn't find the dormitory building. At this time, a classmate walked out from a group of people beside me. He was wearing a mask and a hat and politely asked me if I needed help. Naturally, I had no reason to refuse. Along the way, that person gently introduced the school to me. He also bought me water when we passed by the canteen. When going upstairs, he hardly let me carry anything and carried everything up for me. I felt very embarrassed and thanked him with a bit of guilt and apologized, saying that it was really troublesome for him. But he didn't care about this sentence. Instead, he said, It's already very impressive that you came here alone. When I heard this, I just felt my heart skip an irregular beat. However, I didn't have the courage to ask for his WeChat at that time. It was only after making many inquiries later that I found out that the person's name was Lucas. In the next 2 years, I also liked that person as if he were Lucas, even after I knew that the WeChat I added was Matthew's. I just thought I had inquired about the wrong person and didn't think that it was actually me who had misrecognized the person. I looked at Matthew in confusion and said, How could this happen? It seemed that he didn't expect it either. His expression became very complicated, showing a lot of unwillingness and helplessness. Oliver, so the person you originally wanted to like was me, right? 31. But I couldn't answer. So you were supposed to like me, right? It's hard to believe how much of a mix-up it was. I had mistaken all the wonderful qualities he possessed for someone else. And I let that person carry 2 years of my secret crush. The feeling was too bizarre. For a moment, I felt like I couldn't even face Matthew. I'm going to the restroom. Without waiting for his response, I broke free from his hand that was reaching out and ran to the restroom. Locking the door behind me, I leaned against the wall, trying hard to recall what had happened back then. But it had been too long. I could no longer accurately figure out where exactly things went wrong. The only conclusion was that I thought the person was Lucas. But it was actually Matthew. And the WeChat account I added just happened to be Matthew's. Oliver, Matthew came knocking on the door. Just come out first. But I didn't want to open the door. I couldn't quite accept such a mix-up. It highlighted my foolishness, the absurdity of my secret crush, and the unfairness to Matthew. Baby, open the door first. Matthew softened his voice even more. In the end, I still unlocked it. Senior. I called out with a bit of discomfort after the door opened. Matthew pulled me into his arms and held on tight. It's okay. Mistakes happen. But that's not right. I replied. I don't know what it was. This feeling is just too strange. Matthew patted my back to comfort me and kissed my ear. Then he let go, bent slightly forward, and looked at me eye to eye, setting everything else aside. Babe, does this mean you'll fall for me again, no matter when? I heard his words and remained silent for a long time. It was that sentence that seemed to help me let go of everything all at once. Even though I had mistaken someone in the meantime, but it's true that I will always find myself falling for Matthew again. At any time, the Matthew I love is exactly like that. However, the guilt and strangeness still lingered hard to dissipate, especially after I heard him say that he had actually liked me all along. He just never came to bother me, because he thought I seemed a bit more enthusiastic toward Lucas. Senior, I'm sorry, I said as I hugged him. You have to blame me for being too timid. He replied, if only I had told you something, maybe things would have turned out differently. I pulled my head from his embrace and looked up at him. The cold genius everyone spoke of was filled with tenderness in his eyes. He took all the faults that should have belonged to me onto himself. He was so noble and forgiving. I never really knew how it started. The steady sound of water in the bathroom couldn't drown out the intimate noises. Even holding onto his shoulders, I still couldn't stand on my own. Matthew carried me back to the bedroom. Our shadows were cast onto the soft mattress. His tenderness and affection seemed to be woven into every delicate thread of the fabric. It finally drove away all those indescribable awkwardnesses in my heart. When I lay in his arms at last, I couldn't help but ask as I recalled what had just happened. Senior, did I do well just now? Hearing this, Matthew kissed my lips again. Then he finally said, you did great, baby. You've always done so well. He had been saying those words for a while now, but I still wanted to hear them. Matthew was always like that. He knew about my insecurities. He understood the parts of my personality that were missing. He could brush past even my silly mistakes without making a fuss. It was as if he had grown specifically for me. Thank goodness I didn't let him slip away.